Well, hello. Thanks for coming back today. And I have my friend Kaylina with me, and she is going to be demonstrating the velocity. It's very useful during any practice so that if you need just to pause briefly, you can always come into child's pose. And then I'm going to show how to assist her or to adjust her if you are teaching a class and you see someone needs a little more special attention. So let's have, Kaylina, I'll have you place your hip that direction so your hips are towards me, coming into child's pose or balasana, however you feel most comfortable doing that. Very good. And you can tell she's flexible here. So there might not be as many adjustments as I need to do on her. But when I do want to push down on her, I don't want to push on a soft spot or anything against her organs, but I want to push bone on bone. So my hands to her hips, and I'm pushing down and pushing more into the pose. Can you feel that? Okay. So I can be here and just pushing. Sometimes you will hear people's backs pop. And so you do want to communicate with them. You might want to let them know that might happen. Also, the next place I will press for her is on one hip and then the opposite shoulder bone or the scapula. So I'm going to make sure that I am in a position where my upper back is, or lower back, I might even want to come down on one knee so that I'm protecting my low back, because we don't want to strain our own bodies in trying to help someone else. And then I really can come over and press down and pressing apart, again, bone on bone. So she feels a diagonal stretch from this shoulder bone to the hip bone. Can you feel kind of a stretch there? Yeah. Okay. And then whatever we do to one side, we're going to do to the other side, and we're going to press and further that stretch diagonally for her. And then we're going to give her a moment. If you want to come up, reset. But I'm going to come around to the front this time, and we'll show another way to assist her in this same pose. So she's, she can, now if she were to do this with the hands extended, you could also, however they prefer to do it, but for this demonstration purposes, we'll have them down by the sides as they were before. So, but if they were in extended, then that actually is the Virasana pose extended, but it's not that's not what we're going to be doing today. So coming back, we're going to come into somewhat of like a warrior one pose ourselves as we're getting down and pressing on those hip bones, those pelvic bones. And you might have to ask, like, am I on your hip bones? Or does that feel like right where I'm supposed to be? Okay, because I don't want to be pushing in on her kidneys. That would not feel good. And then you can press in, and you have a lot more leverage this way. But again, your strength is coming through your whole body, leaning into it, you're not compromising your low back. And then you can have her sit back up. And that is assisting the Balasana pose. Well, here we are again, and I'm back with Kaylina. We are going to do the forward bending pose called Paschimottanasana. And so she's going to turn sideways on her mat and with her feet extended in front of her. And she is going to lean over towards her toes into a forward fold. And again, what we want to create with her is the ability to try to rotate her hips forward so she can get more of a forward bend without straining or overstretching her hamstrings. And so I am once again going to be placing my hands on her hip bones, not on anything of the softer areas of the body on really anyone because you don't want to hurt organs and other soft tissues. And so I'm going to push at the bottom here, and she can try to, if she needs to, now she's pretty flexible, but if she needed to, she could come back up all the way and sit tall, even lift up tall with the arms, and then forward fold. And that might help get her hips more rotated. So can you feel that? Does that help you a little bit? Okay. And then if she's in this position, remember when you're working with someone who is a student, you want to have a firm pressure on their body because then it doesn't come across as creepy. And so you can start to do a gentle massage up the spine with your thumbs if you'd like to. And then again, firm pressure, and you're staying in the center of the back. If you want, you can do a little bit of a massage around their shoulders, a little bit into the neck muscles, and then firm pressure all the way down, pressing into those hips. And then you can let them know that they can come up. All right, we are going to demonstrate for you Parigasana, or gate or latch pose. So Kaylina's going to come up into her gate pose. She can extend her foot out to the side. And the one thing that you're going to do is you're going to place your foot on the outside of her foot, so she has like a stopping point. So when she can't move when you start to assist her. So bring your left arm up and over like you would, and then you can lean towards me with your gate pose. And she's got a pretty good stretch here. One thing that we have learned through our training is that some people's acromion processes, which is the shoulder, the bone that sticks out on the end of the shoulder, are extra long. And so some people, they will actually get more stretch if you bring their arm out, and we're going to go forward with your arm. And then you're going to come up this way because you can bypass the acromion process that way. So some people you'll notice quite a bit. Now she must not have that with the way her body's formed because there wasn't much difference. But some people you'll really notice that they're able to get their arm much closer to their head by just making that simple rotation around. Instead of trying to bring their arm up and over, they can come up and around, and then they can get into the stretch further. Now, you're pushing up against the end of her foot so she can't go anywhere. And then you're grabbing onto her hand and pulling her. And she can start to accentuate by pushing her hip out. That'd be her left hip. And can you feel that? Now, the other thing, so that is, yeah, you want to, and your chest, you could, yeah, your side of your body, and you can look up. So she knows what she's doing here. And then I will release her, and she can then get set up for the other side. So we always like to do both sides so we have a body who feels equal at the end. And then I'm gonna place my foot so her leg won't go anywhere. Then she's gonna lift up and over again. And I'm going to grab onto her hand and start to pull. But we want to pull, straight, so we're not making her come into a back bend. Can you feel that? Yeah. And your hip is being pushed out more. Okay. And then you can come down. And that is one way to assist someone in gate or latch pose or Parigasana. Well, hello. I'm here today with my friend Joy, who's going to be demonstrating downward facing dog for us. And I'm going to be assisting her in Adho Mukha Virasana. So I'm going to have Joy come on up into her down dog as she would normally do in a class. Now, Joy's a beginner yogi, and so she hasn't had a lot of opportunity to learn proper form yet. And so you can kind of see where she's at, and she is a taller person. So I have to think about that when I'm coming up to a sister. So go ahead and come on down again, Joy. When you're placing yourself first, you're going to want to stand behind your student. And as you come upon them, of course, remember that you're going to firmly press against them on a bone. And in this situation, I'm going to be pressing on her pelvic bones, not on a soft area, because I don't want to be pushing against organs. Secondly, when you do first come upon your student, you always want to make sure that you have asked if you can assist them. So Joy, may I assist you today with some touch assist? Okay, I will have to place my hands on you in order to do that. So she's fine with that. And then also when you come alongside them or behind them or whatever, take a couple of times to follow into step with their breathing pattern. So I'm going to have Joy come on up back into down dog again. And I am going to come behind her and place my hands on her hip bones. Now her heels are off the floor, and so I can bring her shift her hips back, and I don't have to pull too hard, and she's starting to come into formation, letting her head stay neutral and not strain at all. So is the crown of your head kind of just falling towards the floor, Joy? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and that is the first way you can assist them. Then you can go ahead and go on down, as I don't want to make you stay there forever. Then there's another alternative we can do with that same pose, where I'll be placing one hand opposite her hip on her scapula, and then I'll do it on both sides, because I'll always want to assist in both sides. Now, and then we'll show it from the front as well. There's another way. So come on back up, getting a good workout today, and your arm workout, stationary arm workout. So I'm coming into the hips, and so she's a little taller than me. I'm going to have to kind of straddle her from behind, pulling back a little bit on the hips, and then now I'm going to reach forward and place that other hand on the scapula, and I'm pressing in and helping her to stretch those muscles. Do you feel a stretch at all? Okay. And then I will do that at the opposite direction. And again, I have then done both sides. So I'm going to release, and then she can come down on her knees into tabletop. She can also sink back if she prefers into child's pose. Now I'm going to come around to the front, as I mentioned, and she's going to pop back up into her down dog. One more time. And then this time I'm going to step forward into somewhat of a warrior one pose to keep my balance, because you obviously don't want to fall on your student, making sure I'm stable. Then I can place my hands on her hip bones and push. And do you feel that stretching? Okay. So that is another way. And take a couple of deep inhalations and exhale. And inhale. And exhale one more time. Inhale and exhale. And then I'm going to release, and she can come down. And so you could see there at the end how we synchronized our breath. And that is also another thing you want to do with the student. Well, we're back. I'm here again with Joy, and we are going to demonstrate bound angle pose, or Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to have you sit facing the camera, Joy, and come into bound angle pose. Good job. Yeah, the bottoms of her feet are together. She's grabbing onto her feet with her hands, and her legs are falling to the sides naturally. So she's at a very natural position here. If you have someone, of course, who can't quite get into this pose, they can go a little bit further out with their feet, or you can have them sit on a block or two, or maybe try a different pose, because if their hips don't open up, that might not be the best choice. So I'm going to come up behind her. Again, I'm mindful of where I'm placing my hands, and I'm going to have you go ahead and lean a little forward, Joy, and I'm placing my hands on her hip bones again. And I'm going to push, and then as much as it feels comfortable for you, I'm going to help you rotate your hips a little bit forward. Do you feel that?
I do. Yes.
Do you want more or less pressure or a little more? Okay. Now, one thing I can do, and I'm pretty good friends with Joy, but I wouldn't do this with just anyone, is I can lean my chest a little bit against her back. So I'm not going to, of course, put my full body weight, but do you feel that a little more? Okay. And you can just keep talking to your student, making sure that you guys are in sync, you're not pushing too much. And I'm going to come back up. Now we're going to do that again. And this time, as I mentioned before, we're going to do this, but also adding in the breath. So I'm going to cue her to breathe, because sometimes you won't be able to tell. Some of your students, I should say, are not really heavy breathers. Some of them are shallow breathers. So you might have to ask them to like breathe deeply, and they'll actually fall more into the pose. Their muscles will relax more when they're breathing. So we're going to try this again, Joy. And here we go. I'm going to push right on the edges of your hip bones here with my hands, and then you're going to lean forward. And of course, you're staying long in the spine, so that's good because you don't want to compromise the spine. And then I'm going to lean a little bit with the chest here, and we're going to breathe together. So inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale. One last time, inhale and exhale, and then I'll come up. Now, one other way you can help someone deepen this pose is you can come from behind. Typically, you're going to have to be on your knees, and you can start to press down on their thighs. Now, do you feel that stretch? And do you want more or less pressure, or just right? A little more. Okay, and you want to go slowly. And now, if someone was super flexible, you could also do the back, like push from behind, but I wouldn't do that unless someone's legs were already flat on the floor. It probably would be overstretching them. And then we'll breathe together. Inhale and exhale. Let's breathe in and out through the nose this time. Inhale and exhale. One last time. Inhale and exhale. And then coming off. And does that feel a little more relaxed than when you first went into it? How did that differ from you doing it on your own?
Yeah, again, it's a deeper stretch from what I could do on my own. So I just felt like it was able to, just give it a better stretch.
We are back, and we are going to now talk about Warrior One or Virabhadrasana One. And there are some definite cues you want to make sure that your students know. So when you're assisting them individually or in a class, these are things you can look for. So I'm going to step out of her way, and I'm going to have Joy step into Warrior One. So it's somewhat of a lunge, but both sets of hips are facing forward. So you're doing that correctly. The back foot's kind of at a 45. And well, yeah, that's fine. And then you're going to bend that front knee, but the front knee is going to be over the ankles, so not beyond 90 degrees. There you go. Then you're going to lift both arms up straight. And so here's her Warrior One. So this is a great example. I'm going to come behind her, and I'm just going to shift slowly. Oops, sorry, this way. I'm going to shift slowly. And if you need to lessen the stance, the student can always lessen the stance, because they don't have to be in it very long, or I'm sorry, they don't have to be in it very deep for it to be effective. So we want to make sure both sets of hips are facing the front. And then you're going to bring your arms back straight up closer to the ears. Shoulders are down and relaxed. And then we want to make sure that the belly or the navel is going to be coming in, so we don't have a bow in the back. And then the back heel, I can push my foot against her, so that as she does that, we're going to have straight arms. So that is straight up, and that is Virabhadrasana One. You pretend as though you have two headlights on the front of your hips, and they're facing forward. And then just as long as you don't want to bring that knee forward, so I'm going to just push that back a little bit so that comes back. You can come back a little bit. There you go. And then the front of so that we don't have any arch in the back. So we want to make sure we bring from here to more of a rounded, so that we don't have a ducktail. So those are things you can, and everybody's formed differently. So then you can relax. We're gonna come and we'll do it on the other side, but this time I'll have you stand this way so that the viewer can see it from the other side. So step forward with the other leg. And yeah, this is fine. And then you're going to, you've got that back foot at a 45-degree. And then there you go. You've got to make sure that your front knee isn't coming out too far forward. You want to always be able to make sure your knee's behind the toe because that'll protect your knee. And then here we are. We're going to make sure that from the side, her arms are straight up. They're close to the, and not close to, but near the ears. And then that front, you're pulling the navel in towards the spine. We're making sure, and then you can extend, see if you can extend the back leg just a little bit, straighten it out just a little more without compromising the spine. There you go. And that is warrior one. Both hips are facing forward. So you'll always probably improve with some of these light cues, whatever they're doing. And feel free to relax. So what did that feel like from where you started to where we ended up?
It was amazing that there were just these small little adjustments, but I feel like it made a big difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give it a try in your next class. Well, Joy and I are back, and we are going to be discussing Virabhadrasana 2, which is Warrior 2. And so I'm going to have her come on into that pose now. Now she is going to, you're going to step out with either foot at a perpendicularly from the other foot. Good job. And then scoot this back foot up just a little so that the arch of your back foot is in line with your other heel. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so you're on a parallel plane here. And then you're going to add the arms without lifting the shoulders. You're going to add them to shoulder level straight out. So one of the first things you're going to do, and then this is where you will turn your palms down towards the ground. Good job. So one of the first assists that you can do for someone is you can pull on their arms straight out. And so that they really feel that. And then, can you feel that?
Yeah,
okay, good. And then she's already done a good job of not hiking her shoulders. And then we're going to come over here and check out knee alignment because we always want to make sure that our students aren't hurting knees or long-term knee injuries. So I'm going to, again, just touch that knee and bring it back just a tad, making sure, and then pulling it back too. So we want to open the hip as much as possible. And what I can do is I can bring my thigh behind her glute so that when I'm kind of adjusting her hips and stuff, she's got some stability. So that way, do you feel that? And then again, we're making sure the navel is in towards the spine. And you can, over time, as you like, you can open up into the stance more, but it's not necessary. So then we're going to come down, and not all the way to the ground, but let your arms down. And then we'll set you up on the other side. So we'll do that again. So feel free to now do the warrior to this direction. So yep, the other way. So okay, so this knee is going to face the perpendicular wall. So
okay.
So yeah, knees are facing perpendicularly. So yep, directly to the side. Correct. Yep, same. And always knees go the same direction as toes in every pose. Otherwise, you could hurt your knee really bad. So good job. And you're being more mindful of that knee not coming past the ankle. And now that we've got that in place, we're going to make sure we rotate those hips, not too far, and we want to keep the palms facing down. Good job. And I've pulled that apart. She's doing a good job with keeping her shoulders down. She's got this arch pretty much in alignment with her back heel of the front foot. And she's pulling in the navel towards the spine. And she's got a strong warrior too. So good job, Joy. All right, Joy, are you ready to try triangle pose?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is also known as Utthita Trikonasana, and Joy, again, is new to yoga, so she's not really tried triangle pose before, so this will be an excellent demonstration of how to help someone get in proper alignment, because as soon as they start class, they really should be doing things with proper alignment so that they don't get into bad form and then have years and years of doing it wrong and possibly injuring themselves. So I'm going to have you come into that same stance that you were in for Warrior 2 just a minute ago. So you have the, you can decide which foot you would prefer to be out. Okay, good job. So, and they don't have to be very wide into their stance. So I can stand here next to her foot, so she's not going to slide anywhere. Plus, she's got on grippy socks on a grippy mat, so we're good. And we've got that other knee facing the opposite direction, and the knee is over the ankle, but not beyond. Good job. So our hips are facing to the front here, and then I'll stand out of the way. You're going to add those arms, and then this time you're going to straighten this leg as you lift up. Nope, just this one. And over, and you're going to bend. And you're going to place, for right now, we're going to have you bend and just place your hand on either your shin or your thigh. So, and you're really lifting tall. So we're lifting like a puppet to the sky. We're lifting that hip muscle to the sky. And then I can start to open her up a little bit, pulling her back. Her chest is opening towards the ceiling. I'm going to come around and check form. So pretty good, pretty good. And you can come up. You can come up all the way. Like, okay, now did you feel a nice stretch along the left side from the hip, especially all the way through the left side?
Yes.
I mean, the right side. Okay, let's do the other direction. And this time, yes, and yeah, and again, if you notice, she did not put her hand all the way on the ground because she's a new student, and so I was paying attention to that. You don't have to have your students go in the deepest form of the pose, which is where the hand is on the ground. You can also offer them a block, so I'm going to do that. And of course, remember, you can always give it to them in the tallest setting. So I'm going to put this block in front of her foot this time, and we're going to come down this time. But when you come down this time, your right hand's going to be placed on top of the block. So we're going to go ahead now. If you need to, you can first start with your bent knee so that you can get down into the pose and not compromise by falling forward. So you want to make sure that you maintain that upper body up high. So come on down, and go on down, and then you can add. She can place the arm straight up, and she's looking towards the front. Her hips are open towards the front, and I can also come behind her again with my glute here. I'm going to actually go this way because she's turned the other way, and I can place a hand on the hip and help her rotate a little bit. Do you feel that? Just very, very slightly. You barely have to push. I know she's already said several times, I really felt that. And I'm like, I barely did anything. All right. And you can come on up. Now, Joy is fairly strong, so she doesn't really need the assistance. But some folks, when I have them in class, I will tell them to come back into a Warrior 2 position so that they can push from their bottom leg back up. Because if you get someone down in this pose, and they don't have strong ab muscles or leg muscles, this is really hard for them to do. And so you would want them to bend their leg and use their foot and thigh muscles to push themselves back up. That way they don't strain their neck or their abs. Well, hello, I'm back, and today I have with me my friend Sue, who's going to be helping demonstrate some of these different yoga poses and how to do a proper assist for your student. We're going to begin in Navasana or boat pose, and we're going to show you a couple of different options for people based on their ability and how you can modify the pose for them and help them do it with proper alignment. So I'm going to have Sue come into her boat pose, and she's very good at this one. And you can see that I'm behind her on my knees to the side because as she leans back, so go ahead and come up into your boat. You can get your hip behind her or him, and let them lean so they can open up their chest properly. And then they can either open their arms to the side or up. You can bring your arms up or even forward. They could go forward. And of course, as your chest open, and then you can come down. And you also want to make sure they're expanding through the rib cage. That is one option. The other option, now she has a strong core, but if she did not or is more of a beginner yogi, then she would come up in boat again, and she could bring her hands back behind her on the floor to do that. And she can also bend her knees if she doesn't want to bring her legs all the way up. And of course, you can be behind her and you can come down, so you don't have to hold that pose. But that is a couple of different ways. Now, Sue, what did you can? Why don't you turn towards me and I'll just have a couple of questions for you. So, how did that differ from how you normally do that in class? Did you notice? Um, okay, I'll try that again. Now, Sue, how did that feel different when I assisted you versus doing it on your own?
It gave me extra support so that I wouldn't fall over.
Okay, and so you do that one quite regularly, I think, because we do that in class quite a bit.
Yeah.
But anything else that you noticed about it? Were you able to? What did you think about the different modifications?
Yeah, I think, if I were new at this, it would really be helpful to have my hands back like that.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon. I'm back, and I'm here with Sue, and we're going to demonstrate Janu Shirshasana, which is head to knee pose. And what I will have her do now is come into position so she can choose which leg she's going to have out extended. And then the other leg is, of course, drawn in towards the knee into more of a figure four pose. And what I will do is I've got a couple of options here behind her. And first, I'm going to place my hands on her hip bones and just let her extend tall and over. And then she's got pretty good flexibility here. One thing I can do is get a little closer and then wrap my forearm around her waist as I push to help her rotate her hips forward. Can you feel that? Does that help? Okay. And so she's getting into the stretch a little bit more. I remove my arm, pushing on the other side of the hip, and then I will release and she can come up. And then we're going to do the other side. I could show you also where to place your hands on her scapulas, which is the shoulder bones. And so we'll do that again. So come on into your stretch. And again, you're mindful of your student's breath pattern. So take a couple of deep breaths on your own here, Sue. And I kind of fall into sync with your breathing. So whenever you come up on a student, you don't want to just start adjusting. You want to first have a few minutes, not minutes, moments to get into the breath pattern. And then you can add that pressure to the scapula and the hip at the same time. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
And does that help? Will you get into a deeper stretch?
It does.
Okay. And of course, you could stay here for a few seconds. You could then move to the opposite side. And then coming back, she could sit up. So why don't I have you turn around here, Sue? Hopefully this recorded well. But anyway, go ahead. How did that feel with the different variations of the assisting?
I felt like around the waist helped to get my lower back more in position. And then when you were pressing on my shoulder, it really helped me to go fully into that fold.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back soon with another posture to break down. Well, we're ready to try camel pose, otherwise known as Ustrasana. And this is one of the deeper back bends. So if your students are not used to doing camel pose, or are not very flexible, especially in their back bends, you may need to assist them and also make sure they have proper alignment and form because you don't want them to hurt their back. So I'll have you come into camel pose. You can face away from me. And notice I have a set of blocks. We are going to use that for one of the modifications. But we might start with that one. Would you feel more comfortable with that? Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so if you're going to have them use blocks, I would set them up, especially if they haven't done a lot of camel poses, then behind them about, pretty far down, not next to the shins, close to the shins, towards the ankle. And so you can come back and reach for the blocks. You can, are those where you need them to be?
Yep.
Okay, so you come on down there, and then I can sit back and push on her hips a little bit forward to help create that bend. Is that very helpful? Okay. And then if you want, you can go ahead and come up, and I can help assist her when she comes up too, because you want to make sure that they are drawing strength when they come up from their thighs and not their neck. We don't want them to strain their neck trying to come up. Now, if I weren't behind her, I would have told her to place her hands behind her back to assist herself in coming up. Now we're going to remove the blocks just a little bit out to the side because we're going to show you. So go ahead and come up on your toes first, Sue. And then now as you come down, you should okay, you feel comfortable doing it that way. That's fine. And again, I can come in here and push against her hips. She can drop her head back as much as she wants to. And she's coming into a much deeper bend than she would probably by herself. And then you can feel free to come up. And then you're going to go down into child's pose to counter that pose, and just come on down into child's pose, or extended hero pose. And that is two different ways that you can help assist a student in camel pose. So come on up, Sue. What did you think about that? Did that get you into a deeper back bend than you would have otherwise done by yourself?
Yes, definitely. I felt very safe with you there holding me, and I was glad that I could get a better stretch out of it.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, we'll be back with a different pose in just a few minutes. Well, we're back. We're going to talk today about the cow face pose and how you can assist a student into getting into that pose correctly. And one thing I will say is that you really don't want to work with their legs. You're really just going to be working with their arms in this pose. So she's seated in a crisscross applesauce position. She doesn't We don't need to try to worry about stacking her knees. People may or may not be able to do that based on how they're formed. So we're going to just work with the upper body in this pose. So I am going to give her a strap with the arm that she's going to have on the upper end. So that's her right arm. We'll start with the right arm up. And then go ahead and try to bring your arms together like you would wrap around behind. And then you can just start to walk your hands together. And you can see she's got about this much room between her two hands right now without any physical manipulation on my end. So that, and then you can do that on the other side. So release and then hold it from the left hand at the top. And then again, you can walk hands together. And a lot of times you'll notice a difference between the two sides. One arm was shoulder is typically tighter than the other, but hers is about the same. So, so you can go ahead and release that. We'll move the strap out of the way. And then what we're going to do now, you want to at least be on your knees or maybe in a lunge position when you're helping assist from behind someone on cow face pose. So go ahead and bring your arms up, and I'm going to just grab onto her right wrist here and pressing down at her shoulder. I'm going to lift tall, and then I'm going to help her bend so that she can try to get that hand towards the left hand. And then I'm going to come around to the left shoulder, to the left wrist. I'm going to extend the arm down and then come and swing it around carefully. and see if she can get closer. So now see how much closer she is. She's now about this close between the two hands versus doing the strap, which is more like this. And you can release too. And that is how you can help someone in cow face pose. Well, hey, we're back, and I'm here again with Sue, who's been helping me today, and we are going to do eagle pose next, also known as Garudasana. And so I'm going to have her come into her Garudasana. And so she's going to sink a little bit as though she's in a chair pose. And then she's going to have her right leg come over her left. She can place the toes on the ground, or she can hold it up next to her shin, or she can also wrap around. But if you're assisting students, a lot of times they're going to not be able to do that double wrap around the back of the calf, the bottom half of the eagle pose. Then you're going to lift your arms up to a T and wrap your right arm under your left arm and palms together. Good job. Then you can start to lift your shoulders with keeping these shoulders down. I'm sorry, lifting the elbows, not the shoulders. And so this is, and you can sink a little more deeply into a chair type thing. Okay, so let's have you unwind. And so one way that helps people is to add a block under their foot that has been wrapped around the other leg. So we're going to do that again this time. First to the leg portion, and I'm going to slide this block under her so that she has stability there. And then she's going to add the arms, and she can then start to sink into it. Good job. She's got her back is straight. And then you can start to lift those elbows. She's gazing out at a single point in front of her. And then you can slowly come out of that pose. Good job. What did that feel like?
A lot better with a block.
Okay, a lot better. I felt like you were more stable, less likely to fall over.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Great job. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks.